Hey, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I am super excited. I'm going to be sharing the all-new Natasha Denona Zendo palette. This is a brand new palette that just launched. I got it lightning speed. I've never gotten a palette so quick before. So I wanted to hop on here today and share my thoughts with you guys if you've been interested in picking it up. I mean, it kind of came out of left field. She sneak peeked it. It was on sale. They did a pre-order. Like, this all happened within a matter of days, and now I have the palette. So it's just been a whirlwind experience. But I wanted to hop on here today and give you my thoughts, maybe give you some insight if you've been interested in picking it up. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to be creating this look amongst a couple of others. If that sounds interesting to you, please be sure to stick around. If you're just now stumbling across my channel and you're not already subscribed, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you enjoy this video, or if you've been enjoying other videos of mine. Tap the notification bell so you don't miss future uploads. Let's get into this palette. So I decided to start this video out barefaced. That way I can try to create several looks for you guys. I really want to get a good feel for this palette. I want to play with different formulas. I want to see how they work together. I want to see if I can come up with several very different eye looks. That's what I'm going to do. This is a $65 palette, just like the other midi palettes that Natasha Denona has. I much prefer this format because it's inexpensive comparatively. Her bigger palettes are $129 a piece, which is just crazy. It's a lot of money to spend. So I really like when she comes out with this midi size. It's perfect. I don't need an excessive amount of eyeshadow in each pan because I have a lot of palettes, so I don't need that. These pan sizes work perfectly for me. I'll probably never go through all of the eyeshadows in any of these pans, so I would much prefer the less expensive option of the two. So let's start this out by swatching. I'm going to swatch all of them for you and let you know what kind of formula it is. Okay, let's kick this off with the first shade, top left side of the palette. This is called Mindful, and it's just a really beautiful, deep, chocolatey, kind of orange brown. This is her cream to powder formula. It's a formula that I'm not 100% comfortable with just because it's unlike any other formula that I own in my collection. It takes a little bit of a learning curve. So it's just a really rich orangey brown shade. So she has several different formulas in this palette. We have the cream to powder, we have metallic, we have duochrome, and then we have creamy matte. I think those are the four formulas that we have in here. Yeah. So that's what we're working with. So this next shade is called Luster, and this is one of her metallic shades. And it's just like a, I don't know, like an orangey tinged gold. Really pretty. Let's get scary close so you guys can actually see what I'm doing here. Next up is the shade Balance. This one is just a beautiful, like, lighter brown shade, but it's still got that orange tint in there, if you can see that. And this one is her creamy matte formula. I love Natasha's matte formula. It's very nice. Okay. Next up is the shade Flow, and this one is just a very light blue metallic shade, kind of like a sky blue. Okay. Okay, this next shade is called Mantra, and it's just a really beautiful, like, hunter green. I believe this is her cream to powder formula as well. Actually, there is more cream to powder formulas in this palette than there typically are in her midi size palettes. Usually there's a couple, 2 or 3, if I remember correctly, but this has quite a few. Just look at how buttery smooth, super pigmented, beautiful shade. Okay, let's go down to the second row. We have Aura, which is more or less like a red-orange shade, and it is her metallic formula. Is it? Oh, wait a minute. No, this one says it's a duochrome. It almost feels like a cream formula. Ooh. We're going to have to build that one up a little bit, I think. It's crumbly and creamy at the same time. Not really sure how that's possible. All right, the next shade's called Vigor, and this one is just a true, like, matte red. It is the creamy matte formula. And I can tell upon like first touching it, it doesn't feel quite as creamy as the other matte that we tried. It is really hard to find a true matte red. Usually they pull either pink or they might pull a little purple sometimes. Typically they pull pink. This one looks like a true matte red. I'm excited about that. Okay, next up is the shade Relief. And this one looks like a salmon pink. Really pretty light pink shade. This is also the creamy matte formula. They're going all wonky here. Actually, when you swatch it out, it's still a pink shade. It's still like that salmon pink, but it almost has a peachy type of tone to it. The next shade is Equilibrium. This is another one of her metallic shades. Just a deeper blue, almost like a gray blue or a blue gray. Gray blue. Ooh, that's kind of deep. It looks like it's black based. Oh yeah. Okay, following that is the shade Breath, and it's a really gorgeous mint shade. This is also the cream to powder formula. I love that mint shade. Oh, it's super light. See if I can build that up a little bit. That's kind of hard to see. Holy Moses. Okay. It feels a little drier than the other cream to powder formulas. It's not quite as like, I don't know, the other ones they feel kind of wet. This one really does not feel that way, in my opinion. Interesting. Next up is the shade Sense, and this one's just like a deeper metallic shade. It's kind of, I don't know, kind of a coppery shade, I guess, with like a pink undertone. Taking up all the arm here. Then we have the shade Tranquil, which is a pink shade, another one of their metallics. It almost looks like it complements the pink here. This is just a little bit more pink. This one's got more peach to it. I'm really digging in there too with some of these shadows. Not that they're not pigmented, but I just want you guys to see the full color payoff. Again, creamy but chunky. All right. We're running out of room. We only have 3 more shades. The next one is called Calm. Really beautiful, light, kind of sherbety orange. This one is another cream to powder shadows, right? Yeah. Ooh, this one's also kind of like that green. Something's wrong with that. It feels a little hard pressed, if I'm just being totally honest. Am I crazy? I mean, maybe. We are really struggling with these swatches. All right, we got 1 more. 2 more, shit. Next up is the shade, it looks like Yama. And this one is a duochrome. And it looks like it shifts from like a green to pink. Something like that. Oh boy. How about we do this? Let's get right here. All right, all right. Last but not least is the shade Zeal. And this one is a really deep, murky, kind of greenish brown. And it is one of their creamy matte shadows. Let's also put this right cha. Ooh. Or is that cream to powder? No, it says creamy matte. I don't know if it's where I'm swatching it that's making it funky or if it's patchy. Looks patchy. Not quite as opaque as I was expecting. But there is the entire lineup of the Midi Zendo. Let's play. So the main reason that I bought this palette is because I think this will make a good kind of complementary palette to the other ones that I already own. I feel like this has just some basic colors to it. I mean, we've got the matte red, we've got these really beautiful greens. It's not so much, I don't know. I just felt like there was a lot of basic colors in here. And I'm trying to kind of have a little bit of this, a little bit of that when it comes to my Natasha Denona eyeshadows. And I feel like this really nicely complements the other palettes that I have. First and foremost, we need to prep the lids. With the cream to powder formula that's in this palette, it's not a good idea to use a base that's tacky or one that's going to move around. At least that's what I've heard, and I haven't really put that theory to the test yet. So I'm actually going to go in with the NARS eyeshadow base because this one completely sets down. The thing that I like about this NARS eyeshadow base is it is tinted, or at least the one that I have is. I have the shade Light, and it hides all of the veins and discoloration on the lids. So it makes a really nice canvas for eyeshadow. It doesn't typically result in the most pigmented eyeshadow looks. I would say for those, I go with like ABH or P. Louise, but it does help with longevity and blocking out discoloration on your lids. So let's try that. Let's do this side with the NARS, and let's try the other side with one of the tackier bases and test that theory on how these, especially the cream to powder, how those shadows work over a tacky base. Because I don't think I've even tried it yet. Okay, what do I want to do first here? I'm a little uncertain what color story I want to use first. I'm kind of wanting to do something with the orange and the red just because I'm wearing orange. It's the first thing that popped in my head, okay? Let's do that. Let's just play with some of those tones. Alright, I'm going to start this off by taking the shade Calm, which is the cream to powder formula. And I'm just going to use that as my transition shade. You know what's weird is on the back of this, like the unicarton, it says for matte eyeshadows to apply with fluffy eyeshadow brushes to blend or detail brushes for precision. And then for metallic duochrome chroma crystal eyeshadows, you should either use like a dense brush, your finger, something like that. But it doesn't say what to use for the cream to powder shades, which I thought was interesting. Maybe they just lumped those in with matte shadows, so fluffy brush. Okay, I'm going to take my Sonia G Classic Crease Brush just to start buffing that shade in the crease. This is the one that I said was a little hard pressed, like when you swatch it, but it's definitely picking up pigment, so that's good. Okay, it's subtle, which works well for what I'm using it for. Blends out really well as a transition shade. I kind of like that. There's just not a whole lot of pigment to it, as you can see. I think that's about the most I'm going to be able to get out of that one. Yeah, it doesn't feel like the typical cream to powder shades. It feels really powdery. Strange. I kind of want to take that red shade Vigor and just start like building it up in the crease, maybe blending it up towards that orange and just seeing where it takes me. Otherwise, I would have to go maybe with like the brown, which is that shade Mindful, another cream to powder. Do I want to go that? What do I want to do? I'm stuck. Let's do the red first. We are living totally on the edge today. I'm a little nervous because this is a true red. It's very, very red. She ain't playing around. I mean, look at that. Wow. I'm trying to really like blow that color out in my crease area so it fades a little more nicely. It blends really well over top of that cream to powder formula. No issues there. Okay, to blend that just a little bit better, I'm going to go back in with that original orange and we're going to blend into the crease. I mean, I'm really enjoying the way that's blending. It's blending really beautifully. Let me pack on that shade with a flat brush. Such a beautiful red shade. I mean, I love that. I love those shades so far. They just work so nicely. I sound surprised. I shouldn't be. I know that I love her formulas, which is why I bought this. So yes, I might have all of these shades, but I didn't have all of these shades in her formula. So that was the main motivation behind getting this palette. I could do pink. I can do that orangey duochrome, which is really nice. The gold, the other duochrome. Ooh, I kind of want to do that duochrome called Yama. I just feel like that might look kind of cool on the inner corner. So let's do that. Do I want to leave it like this? I mean, I know it's loud and it's bright and it's red, but I'm digging it. I really am. Let's take Yama. Let's try this a couple different ways. First, I'm going to try packing it on with a brush, with a flat brush like they recommend. I'm going to take the Morphe M124. It's just a flat like concealer brush, or it can also be used as a flat glitter packing brush, pigment packing brush, whatever. Let's attempt to use that just to see the payoff I get by using a flat dense brush. Usually I use a finger because this doesn't give me what I'm looking for. I just don't get the payoff that I'm looking for when I use a dry packing brush. Like, it does hardly anything. This is not, it's not impressive whatsoever. Let me try the finger and see if that's any better. Mildly. That's a little bit better. What I did is I dragged it all the way over because I have a habit of doing that. And I'm just going to pack that red a little bit more back on that outer edge. I'm half tempted to even use like a glitter glue or something similar to give more payoff. If you guys hear sirens and whatnot in the background, my child is playing GTA, I believe. But this is by no means a bad eye look. I like it. It's pretty. It's just not quite as impactful with like the shimmer as I would typically like now. Now, back in the day, before I met Adept, before I met Divina and Terra Moons and Cleona, before I met all those indie brands, this would have like knocked my socks off. I'd have been totally over the moon. And it's not to say that this is bad. It is not. I'm just not as impressed with the shimmer formula as I once was because I know what it could be. I just know. You guys hear me say that in every single video. Those indie shadows, honey, they knocked my socks off. I think what I want to do is go back and forth a little bit with the shade Aura. It's this really pretty orangey red tone. And just put that maybe in between the two. I'm just playing around a little bit, see what happens here. So I know that look it's pretty basic, right? Just to see if I can really amp up the impact on that duochrome, I'm going to take a little bit of the NYX Multitask for Mixing Medium. This is one of my favorite products to use to amp up shimmers, duochromes, you know, the shimmery, shifty shades. I'm going to lay this down and just see if I can amp up the impact of that shade Yama if I put this down. And then we will probably move on to the other eye. I don't really want to make these super intricate. I just want to get an idea of how they work, what I think of the formulas, how they blend together, so forth and so on. So far we've used 1, 2, 3, 4. We've used 4 shadows so far. All right, let's start stamping that on. I usually do it with my finger. Oh yeah, lots more impact when you add down that glitter primer, pigment primer, whatever. That's just something to keep in mind. If you love the more poppy kind of shimmery shades, duochromes, whatever, just know that if you lay down a glitter primer, a mixing medium, something like that, it's really going to amp up that eye look. Does it look perfect? No, because I was being a little sloppy about it out here, and I got a blob of it right there. The only problem with doing that is it's a little bit harder to blend the colors together because you've got, you know, the mixing medium or whatever. For this side, we're going to use the Juvia's Place Eye Prep Eye Prime Eye Primer. It's scary how similar this one and the Anastasia Beverly Hills Eye Primer are. They both seep out of the tube. They both are like equally pigmented. They perform almost identically. Identical? Whatever. Let's see how Natasha performs over top of Juvia's place. Okay, so on this side, I think I want to play around with the greens. They're kind of calling out to me. I think what I want to do first is go into the crease area with the shade Breath. We'll just take it from there and see what happens. I want to make sure my end look is more wearable. I say wearable. Look, I'll wear this out in public. I don't even care. Like, I don't care the colors, the brightness, it doesn't matter to me. Like, those things don't bother me. But I think the end look, I want it to be a little bit more toned down. I don't want it to be so loud. So, yeah, let's try the greens. I have a feeling I'm going to get pretty much the same effect on this eye. Okay. Dipping it in here kind of aggressively. This green was super light anyway, like when I swatched it. I really dug in there for that color payoff. It's like it's not sticking right here. So weird. Maybe it's the base, because the orange had no trouble sticking to the NARS. Yeah, it's like not blending right over top of this Juvia's Place primer. It's kind of strange. Can you guys see it? The patchiness right through here? Now when I pat it on like that, it kind of fixes it a little bit. That's so weird. But if you keep blending, it just blends it right away. All right, what do I want to do next? I think I want to go into the shade Mantra, which is the one right above that deep hunter green. Let's just see what happens when I start blending that on top of the Juvia's Place. It's another cream to powder formula, so I'm a little concerned. Ooh, pretty. You'll have to let me know down below. Did you order this palette? Do you like it? I mean, I would think that you did. Otherwise, why would you be watching this? Unless you just love watching me. I'm just playing, y'all. It looks a little patchy, not gonna lie. In person, not so much. On camera, yes. I don't know why that is. Okay, let's try to blend between the two like I did the last time. Ooh, I don't like that. It gets really patchy. What the hell? Yeah, I would definitely advise against using a tacky primer. It's not flattering. It's really, really patchy. You see what I mean? I don't know if you guys can see the patchiness happening like right through here. I don't like it. I'm going to wipe this off and I'm going to go back in with my NARS eyeshadow base since I know this one works really well with these shadows. And let's see if I have the same effect with that light green shadow. I really want to give this a fair shot all the way around. And I feel like if I'm putting it over top of a base, that I'm setting myself up to fail if I know the base isn't working. So, be right back. All right, lid is primed with the NARS eyeshadow base. Let's dip back into that sea green and see if it's still patchy. All like hunched over. You guys can't see nothing. The hell? It's kind of doing the same thing. It's really bizarre. It's like clinging in this really weird spot and then not blending. It doesn't look awful. Let me keep trying. Let me be quiet and keep trying. If you guys hear motorcycles revving, sorry. It is Mother's Day, so I guess all those badass biker moms are out there getting it on their motorcycles. More power to them, you know? It still looks a little patchy, and I feel like if I try to build it up any more than what I already have, it's going to look worse. I don't know how I feel about that shade. I feel like that shade might be a dud. And look what I've done to it already. Like, I've had to stab in there to get, like, color payoff. Like, really stab in there. Okay, let's move on to that other shade, Mantra. And do the same thing. We're going to blend up into that mint green. I said earlier that there was a learning curve with this cream to powder formula, and that stands firm. It's not the easiest formula to work with if you're not used to it. So I would say don't get discouraged. If you happen to pick up one of these palettes, don't try it once and then take it back because that formula is a little difficult. Just keep trying, keep practicing with it, and you should be able to get it figured out. You just have to kind of finagle it a little bit. I'm going to try to, oh man, I'm a little worried. I'm worried to keep using this mint green because it's just not my favorite. It's not my favorite shade. Not my favorite formula for this. It's just like right here. It's so bizarre. I don't understand why it's doing that. It's like shadow does not want to stick there. I'm going to try more of like a stippling motion to get it into that crease, and then I'll blend it out with a clean brush because I'm trying to get some pigment laid down here. I don't want it all to blend away. Okay, let me try, actually, I've been using that bigger Sonia G brush. Let me try blending out the edges with this smaller Morphe brush with that light green. Maybe that'll make a difference? I don't know, guys. Very lightly. The end result doesn't look terrible. But man, it's been quite the pain in the rear to get it here. Okay, I'm going to quit while I'm ahead because I'm just going to keep blending and blending it away and getting upset, blending it away, getting upset. Let's move on. I don't really know where to go from here because I don't have any other... I mean, I have another green, but it's that really murky, like, brown green. That, in my opinion, that's not what I'm looking for this eye look. Where do I even go from here? I've got the two bluish colored shimmers. I mean, I could have always used, like, that same duochrome, but I feel like now that I'm putting this down, it's kind of lacking in that sense. It's kind of lacking a complementary shade to use with those greens. I could use the pink called Tranquil. Actually, that's probably what I'll end up doing because I don't know what else to put there. The orange. Okay, I don't even know. Guys, I don't know what to do. I don't want to use the same duochrome that I used over here, so I'm going to take the shade Tranquil, which is this pink shimmer. And that's what we're going to put on the inner portion of my lid. We're going to just go in straight with the finger because, yeah, using a brush just doesn't do it for me. I don't think I like that. I don't think I like the way that looks. It just looks pretty muted, in my opinion. Not very pigmented. I mean, you can tell. I'm not really feeling the color combo. I think it looks odd. Pink and green I'm not opposed to, but this particular combo, I'm not here for it. Maybe I should use that darker pink. Okay, it doesn't look right with that lighter pink, in my humble opinion. I feel like a watermelon. That's what I feel like. I mean, it looks better than the other one. Y'all don't have any idea how bad I want to add one of those special shades to this eye look, because I could make it look bomb. I mean, you have to keep in mind as well, when I use these palettes, I'm not gonna just use these palettes. I'm gonna play with other things. But for first impression's sake, and showing you guys how all these shadows perform, I thought it was important to only use this palette. You know what I mean? Nope, this just isn't. No. Nope. I almost feel like it looked better before when it looked like a watermelon. Yeah, we're going to just stop right there. I'm ready to be done with this look 100%. That's the only thing that stinks. If you're somebody that's buying this palette to use as a standalone palette, I don't know what the hell you would do with those greens. I mean, I guess you can incorporate the red somehow because red and green go well together, but pink and green typically do as well, and this just ain't it. I probably could have used that duochrome, but I was trying really hard not to since I used it over here. That would have been my safest bet over here, is using the duochrome. So, this is the product of me being stubborn, wanting to use different shadows than I used on this eye. So, this is what we got. This mess of a patchy... it's just a mess. So, what I'm going to do is take both eye looks off. What if we added the duochrome on top? Look at me. I'm a mess. Let's attempt to tap that duochrome on top to see if I can save it just a little bit. Even just a little. Because I am not feeling it, guys. It looks rough. I don't think anything can save this look. Actually, that's a lie. One of my special shades could save it. But nothing out of this palette. Because it's just, it's far gone. Let's just move it along. Can I be done? I think I want to use something with the browns next. Something a little bit more neutral. I was going to do 2 more eye looks and then a 5th eye look, right? I'm not going to do that. It is Mother's Day. I would like to spend some time with my kids today instead of filming all day. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to end this off with 1 more eye look. I'll put on the rest of my face. That way you can see the entire, you know, vision with the rest of my makeup done. And then I'll come back with my roundabout thoughts on this palette. Okay, the NARS eyeshadow base is laid down for the final time. You can still see a little bit of like the green color underneath there. It is what it is. So anyway, the goal was to try to use as many eyeshadows as possible to tell you what I thought about all of them. And we've used quite a few. So far, we've done the greens, we did the duochrome, we used the pink, the red, this darker pink. Is that it? Yeah. So the only ones we haven't used yet are like the really neutral shades. The brown, the gold. We didn't use the blues yet. Or this murky like brown green here. So I think what we're going to do is go for something that's a little bit more brown and add like pops of blue. Because they complement each other nicely. And that'll be the final eye look. Praise Jesus. Okay, so the first shade that I'm going to go into is called Balance. And that's just a really pretty, like lighter brown, very warm toned light brown. And I'm going to dip into it very gently because I don't want it to be crazy pigmented. I want this to be my crease shade. Or my transition shade, rather. And this is just the creamy matte formula. This is not cream to powder. Blended really beautifully and easily. I'm going to do this on both sides. Okay, does that look even? Kind of, sort of. Let's move on. So the next shade that I want to dive into is called Mindful. And that's that really warm cream to powder shade right here. Ooh, that's a warm brown. Ooh, so pretty. That shade just applied like butter. This NARS eyeshadow base really is like the best base for these shadows because of that cream formula. I think I'm just going to take the shade Equilibrium, that really deep, dark blue shimmer, I guess. And I'm going to use that on the outer edge and then to deepen up my crease, I guess. And then I'll go in the middle portion and like the beginning with Flow, that lighter blue. I don't know what else to do because I feel like if I'm going to incorporate those blues, I don't know how else to do it. Okay, let's see what happens. Let's take Equilibrium on a fluffy brush. I am really nervous for this. And oh, I don't know. I don't know about this. Start building it in my crease, maybe? Over top of this brown, it just looks like a gray. That's interesting. I don't know how I feel about that. All right, I just packed some of that on the outer edge. I want to see what happens after I add the lighter blue to the beginning portion of my lid. I can't talk. Let's do it now. I just think it looks weird because it's a shimmer, so it's kind of shining funny in that crease. Oh man, I can't win. It's just different. This isn't something that I would typically do, and part of me really wants to wipe all of this back off and start over, but I don't have time. It's Mother's Day. I've been sitting down filming now for hours, and I just need to wrap this up. If you would like to see me do more content centered around ways I would incorporate other like singles into looks with these shadows, let me know down below, because that's how I'm going to use this palette. I'm not going to use this as a standalone, so doing what I'm doing now is almost pointless. I'm only doing it to tell you guys how I feel about the formulas, the way they blend together, and if you were to buy this and you're only using this, what I think about the palette in general. Alright, so I'm going to hop off of here. I'm going to complete the other eye. I'm going to finish my entire face of makeup. So when you guys see me again, everything will be finished, and I'm going to go over my thoughts on this palette. Okay, so this is the third and final look using the Michelleyshells Zendo palette. Let me just go over some thoughts with you. Well, I guess first of all, I should tell you a couple of things. So for that inner corner highlight there, I used the single Luxe from Clionadh Cosmetics. It's just a beautiful iridescent shifty shade. I just wanted to add a little something special. That's what that is. I took the same mattes that I used up top and I blew them out underneath the lower lash line. I used the Tarte Man-Eater Mascara on the top lashes. On the bottom lashes, I used the Tarte Lights Camera Lashes. For the lips, I used the Makeup Forever colored pencil in Up and Down Tan, and then I used the Tarte lipstick in Rum Punch. I also did a bunch of other stuff. I'll try to remember to link everything down below if you're interested in what else I'm wearing on my face, like bronzer, blush, all that jazz, highlight, whatever. So I want to go over my thoughts on this palette. Okay, so first and foremost, like I said earlier, this isn't something that I would use as a standalone palette all by itself. Like, I really enjoy this final eye look. It might even be my favorite aside from the red one. The second eye look was whack. It looked crazy. This eye look I can get down with. I like it. It kind of reminds me of another look that I did with my Natasha Denona Metropolis palette, except for that blue shade was just a really beautiful, like, emerald green instead of blue. So for this particular palette, the mint green here, the shade Breath, it's a little patchy when it blends out. It's patchy over top of a tacky base. It's patchy over the NARS eyeshadow base. If you blend too much, it starts to like cling in weird spots. I'm not a big fan of the shade Breath. As far as the other shades in this palette, they're really good. The cream to powder formula is one of my favorites. It just blends beautifully. They're so pigmented. They blend so easily, except for the shade Breath. And I really enjoy those. Those are my favorite out of this palette besides the regular matte shades. As far as like the shimmers and the duochrome, you guys already know exactly what I'm going to say. After using my indie singles and falling in love with those shiny shimmery shades, I just have a really hard time getting super drawn to just regular run-of-the-mill metallic shades like that are in here. Not to say that I won't use them, because I will, but I'm not going to be as keen to like jump in here and use those when I know I have something that's so much more enticing, you know, that's not in this palette. So overall, do I think this is worth $65? I do. It's a good palette. It's Natasha Denona formula, so if you're looking for these shades in her formula, this is for you, which is, you know, exactly what I was trying to achieve when I bought this palette. So I was trying to compare shades from the Zendo to other Natasha palettes that I have. I have the Sunrise, I've got Circo Loco, I have the Metropolis palette, the Gold palette, the Love palette, I have Bronze, and then I also have Glam. I have quickly built my Natasha collection. Anyhow, when I'm looking through the other palettes, some of the shades look semi-similar, but there's nothing that is like an exact dupe. I don't believe she does that between her palettes. I think there's just enough difference between shades that it's worth picking it up if you already have some of her other palettes, if you're interested in the shades in this palette. Just right off the top of my head, a couple of the shades that were like semi-similar, Mindful and Luster, kind of reminded me of shades from the Metropolis palette. So specifically, the shade down here in the corner kind of looks like Mindful. There's a little bit of a tone difference, but they're pretty similar. And then as far as Luster's concerned, it kind of reminds me of the shade up here, as well as this one here. But again, they're different enough to where they're not exact dupes. Now, as far as the other shades are concerned, they are just different enough that I just feel like they're not comparable to what I have in her other palettes. Now, that's just me. You might have a lot of her other palettes and you might think there's a lot of similarities, and that's your opinion and that's fine. But as far as I'm concerned, I think there's just enough difference in tone that it makes it worth it to pick this up. If you like Natasha's formula, if you like this color story, it makes it worth it for you. It's great quality and it is, in my opinion, a fantastic palette. But for me, it's just not a standalone palette. I will be using this in conjunction with my beautiful shimmery shades, with other shades, just because that's how I do all my palettes. So I just wanted to put that out there for you in case you are interested in picking this up. I just don't come up with really creative color stories for my eye looks. I have to really think about it when I do. So when I look at this palette, the most basic of color stories pops out at me, which is like what I showed you in this video. That's what pops out at me. Now, I'm sure if I sat down and did a palette bingo, I could probably come up with something different. I don't know that it would look good, but I would come up with something different. And maybe you would come up with something totally different from what I did, and it looks fantastic. I don't know. I just wanted to come on here today. I wanted to give you my thoughts on this palette, and overall, I'm really glad that I have it. I'm happy to add it to my collection. I think it's well worth the price tag, and I wanted to share my thoughts with you today. So I hope this video was at least a little bit helpful to you guys, especially if you're planning on picking up this palette. I think it's important to do your research, you know, especially when the price tag is a little bit higher. When you're talking about luxury makeup, I like to do my research when I'm about to buy something like that. I like watching different videos, different reviews, different opinions. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. Not only does that let me know that you like this kind of content from me, but it also lets YouTube know. So when you guys do that, it's engagement. It lets YouTube know that, you know, my channel might be doing okay, that people are engaging with it. So I'm super grateful when you guys take the time to do that. If you made it this far in the video, but you haven't already hit that subscribe button yet and you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to tap that subscribe button, ring the notification bell so you don't miss future uploads, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.